Game over, man. Game over. Johnny.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
So serious.
I am Iron Man.
This is a tasty burger.
Welcome to the In Session Film Podcast.
Welcome to episode 681 for March 29th, 2026, and I'm JD Duran.
And I'm Brennan Cassidy.
Hey, thanks for joining us, everybody. I'm very excited to dig into this week's episode, but before we do, a little quick go blue. My Wolverines are in the Final Four and the Frozen Four for those that also follow hockey. So basketball and hockey, man, they are doing extremely well. So it's
How's your
very
bracket
exciting
looking?
around here. My bracket is doing well because most of the people that I do the challenges with did not pick Michigan to win. I've seen a lot of Duke and
There's
some
always a
other
lot of Duke.
schools, but me and my lovely son Sam, we picked Michigan, of course.
You have to.
Yep.
It's a sentimental pick for you guys, and sometimes it pays off.
And sometimes it pays off, especially because those Duke Blue Devils lost. They are not going to the Final Four. So sad about that.
Did you join any monetary pools for this bracket? or
No,
you just do it
no,
for
no
fun?
monetary. No.
Okay,
We just
okay.
do it for fun.
I haven't done a monetary pool in a long time.
Yeah, same. Anyway, basketball and hockey have been really fun for me so far this March, which is really great. As far as movies go, it's been really interesting as well. Last week on the show, we talked about Project Hail Mary. And I got to say, Brennan hasn't had a chance to see the film quite yet. But we did
Correct.
put out a review. And I want to say a big thank you to Ben Miller and Megan Kearns who joined me for that episode. It was incredibly fun. It was one of
Oh, yeah.
the best conversations we've had this year on the show. And I do want to thank them for meeting me halfway in that conversation. I know they liked the film, at least on that initial viewing, a little bit more than me. I had some reservations, and I really wanted to dig into what that really was, because when we started that conversation on Project Hail Mary, I knew that I had a bit of an emotional disconnect to it.
Yeah.
And I wanted to really dissect that because I didn't know what it was. I
Yeah.
honestly had no clue what was keeping me from emotionally going to the same place as everyone else did.
As film critics, when you're conflicted about a movie in one way or another, our goal is to try to uncover what that is. Right?
Yeah.
Like that's the goal. Like sometimes we're not conflicted, but when we are conflicted, we have to dissect that. That's part of our
Yes.
job in some ways.
And I was grateful to them. I mean, we spent the better part of an hour really digging into that disconnect, or what that potential disconnect was. I certainly had some theories. And as we talked it out, I do think my initial theory proved to have some credence to it. And they're really, like, I was onto something there, and Ben brought up some great points. Megan brought up some great points that helped me reevaluate or even give further credence to my theory in some ways. And I think I just saw a very different movie than most people did when it came to Project Hail Mary. It is a good movie. I do really like it. Let me start off there. But I think there's a cynical backbone to that film, at least on the edges, on the fringes of it. The central dynamic between Grace and Rocky is great, and it's candy coated in sentimentality. And I think that's why so many people have fallen in love with Rocky and have felt those emotions. And I think all of that is handled fine for the most part. I think the film pulls its punches, emotionally speaking. And I have seen other people throughout the week, whether it be on social media or some reviews I've read on Letterboxd, that have regurgitated similar feelings that I had
Okay.
as far as the film's tone and how it pulls its punches in that regard. But I can understand why people are drawn to it. I understand that superficial appeal. But for me, it was really more that cynicism on the edges that I was more drawn to. That's what I really liked about that film more than anything else.
I forget if we talked about this on the air or if I brought this up to you when we were off air. But I asked you, and to be fair, for everyone listening, this is coming from someone who hasn't seen the movie yet, so it was a question to JD. But I asked if the comparison to something like the Powell and Pressburger film A Matter of Life and Death was a fair comparison based on your relationship to Project Hail Mary, because that's a movie that I think is fascinating nowadays, because I think that movie's intent was to have it both ways. It is very much a movie about the heavenly powers of love, but it's also a cynical movie about, no, love has nothing to do with it. It's just medicine. So there's two things happening there that kind of have different emotional extremes. Maybe in time, Project Hail Mary will be a similar type of
and it could be. Yeah. And we did talk that out, and I did somewhat arrive to that conclusion based off some of the evidence that Megan and Ben also brought to the conversation, that maybe they did have their cake and eat it too. Maybe they were able to get away with it there a little bit. And a lot of people would certainly argue that about Powell and Pressburger.
Oh, yeah.
With that film as well. I don't know if the sentimentality works for me there either. I have very similar feelings, which is why it was an apt comparison, because I very much go to that scientific, cynical angle of it. And that's very much what's happening with me in Grace and in Project Hail Mary. And it's also interesting, and I think this is why our next VIP episode needs to be a coda to our Project Hail Mary conversation. One, because you need to give your thoughts on the film. My son Sam wants to see it. He also wants to talk about it. And also, I've read the book now. And
that's right,
reading the book gives even further, gives me further insight into my feelings on the movie, because it's a different medium, so I'm trying not to compare. I try to avoid this at all costs, because books and film are doing very different things, obviously. And in the book, there is much more of Grace grappling with his scientific mind alongside his humanity. And the film very much avoids that. Almost, again, for me, to a pretty frustrating point, like frustrating levels.
This is weirdly making me more excited to see it now.
Yeah. Now, Ryan Gosling very much fills in those gaps for sure. He's really great at filling in those gaps. I just wish that the film, as I noted in our review, did more of that. They didn't have to necessarily write in a ton of more conflict. Just let Ryan Gosling.
Yeah, so it's kind of reliant on Gosling's performance and his talent. So without that performance, the movie may have fallen apart for you.
100%, because and that is also why he was perfect casting. Going back to that being a skill set and deserving of an Oscar.
Sure,
because Gosling isn't just a movie star. He's not just a face that you can put on a poster. In this specific instance, with the particular approach to that film, you have a movie star who has enormous amounts of charisma that can make that candy-coated sentimentality affecting, and he does that very well. But also, we're talking about Ryan Gosling, who is maybe the best at stoicism working today. When you look at films like Drive and First Man, among others, the man knows how to convey an essay without saying anything at all. And I very much brought this up in our conversation as well.
Oh, yeah.
You let him do that more in Project Hail Mary without the film necessarily having to succumb to it being a completely different film tonally.
Sure.
You just give him a few of those moments, a few of those First Man-esque moments to let that stoicism side of Gosling come through. I think that would have been the perfect marriage.
Let him act like a performing co-writer almost.
Yeah.
Because like in those sequences in something like First Man, it's almost like he's co-writing the script for that movie as it goes.
It's
because
brilliant.
of what he's filling in there.
One of the most exhilarating performances, emotionally speaking, that I've maybe ever seen.
Oh, I think
and he
that is
says 10 words in that whole movie.
I think that is his best performance.
I agree. I think so as well. And it's been really fun to see other critics coming around and repeating that on social media over the last week. I saw so many thoughts on First Man. I was like, oh man, I was elated.
It's kind of funny. I think I've said this before. I know this is a Ryan Gosling specific topic we're focusing on, but to shift gears to Damien Chazelle for a second, who directed First Man, I think I'm at a point now where I think the two movies of his that often don't get cited as his two best are my two favorites, and that's First Man and Babylon.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I mean, and I love La La Land. I love La La Land as much as the next person, but I'm probably there with you on those being his two best. And I really like Whiplash. Maybe not as a jazz movie. You've articulated perfectly over the years. It works more as a sports movie. That's really what it is. It's like a psychological sports movie.
That's exactly.
And I really like the film in that regard as well.
Me too. Yeah.
Which is why I think like he just hasn't missed for me. Like he's a really great filmmaker. I think he falls a little bit into those pitfalls because he's been Oscars throughout so much of his career until you get to the First Man Babylon era that I guess we're in with Chazelle. And so people have, I don't know, thoughts on him just swing wildly.
Anyway, this I think was a whole
Ryan Gosling.
It was also a whole introduction to talk about Project Hail Mary being #1 at the box office for a second weekend, right?
Yes. And I just wanted to again go back to our review just because I really thought that we had a great, thoughtful, insightful, at least for me, conversation on the movie. We just didn't talk about the candy coated elements of it, which is very easy to get into. And again, I'm not comparing us to anyone else. In all transparency, I didn't have time this week to go listen to any other reviews. So I'm not trying to compare. I'm just saying that I really loved our conversation. I hope other people did as well. And I wanted to thank Megan and Ben for being such a big part of that and really meeting us, meeting me anyway in the middle there and trying to dissect that cynicism that I say very complimentary about the film.
Yeah.
Maybe other podcasts are talking about it. Maybe other critics are talking about it. And I hope that is very much the case because I do think that is one of the best elements of that film. But yes, to Brendan's point, the main reason that we brought up the film, aside from me wanting to thank Ben and Megan, it has grossed $164 million domestically after 2 weekends, which is incredible. Absolutely incredible. I think the total drop-off was around 33%, I think is the number that I saw out there.
Yep, that's a good hold.
Very good hold. And so far, when you couple that with the worldwide numbers, it has crossed over the $300 million mark.
Yep, that's 301 million, I think, is where it's at, somewhere around that range right now, which is really awesome to see for a movie like this after only 2 weekends. The only scare that I have around this is that the film's budget was around, what, 240 or something like that? So in order for this movie to break even, it probably has to gross around 600 million or so worldwide. And the thing that scares me about that is the competition it's going to have when the Super Mario Brothers Galaxy movie comes out. Now, granted, those are potentially different audiences, so it might not make much of a difference, but it could at the same time. So, basically, I want to say that this is an awesome number, generally speaking, for a movie like this that is very directorial focused and feels very old fashioned and tangible. But it does still have a long way to go. I think that is still something we need to acknowledge.
And look, we have been very adamant that you cannot force a Barbenheimer. You can't force it. But the parents out there, I'm just saying, this weekend, maybe there's an opportunity. That's all that I'm saying.
So basically, 2 Galaxy movies?
Yeah, exactly.
Galaxyheimer.
Yes. I'm just saying, maybe there's an opportunity there for the parents.
Project Galaxy. That's what it's going to be.
I do agree with you generally. I don't know how much crossover there is. Obviously, there's going to be some for sure. But you could be talking about 2 different audiences there. And at this point with Project Hail Mary, it's about the repeat viewings, right? So you want people to get in there, see it 2 or 3 times. And at its current trajectory, if the studio leaves it there for a while, which is what they should be doing, I think it can get to 600 million.
Oh, I think it could too. Yeah,
Yeah.
it depends on what it's competing with, and we all know that the Super Mario Galaxy movie is going to be a bonkers hit. Like that's a fact.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
potentially going to be $1 billion movie.
The first one did cross $1 billion, right?
It did. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't know if this one will match that. I have a hunch, just given the some of the reveals that they've been giving away very rapidly, such as the reveal of Fox McCloud being voiced by Glenn Powell. I feel
Yeah.
like it seems as though Illumination doesn't have as much faith in this movie as they did the first one. So I'm guessing it's going to be a lesser quality movie, which sometimes could lead to a slightly diminishing return when it comes to box office results when that word of mouth does carry through. But I could still see it becoming $1 billion movie regardless.
Yeah. Aside from Mario, though, you don't really have much else to compete, right? When you get to April 10th, you have You, Me, and Tuscany. Okay, that's not going to dent anything as far as Project Hail Mary is concerned.
I mean, unless it becomes another Anyone But You.
Which would be awesome, but I'm not counting on that at the current moment. And then you get to April 17th. Mother Mary is going to be a lot of fun, but again, the crossover there, I'm not entirely sure.
Man,
You
there
also
was
get-
that was the opportunity for a double feature. Project Hail, Mother Mary.
Exactly. Lee Cronin's The Mummy also comes out that weekend, which should be interesting. Again, I don't know how much of a dent that'll put into
Not
Project Hail Mary. Maybe a little bit. I could be underrating it there a little bit.
I think that'll be one of those horror movies that's probably made on a slightly smaller budget that'll just simply make its money back and do fairly well for what it is. But I don't see that being a massive blockbuster competitor when compared to something like Project Hail Mary.
I mean, it's very possible, and I'm not saying that Project Hail Mary is going to dominate the box office. It's going to be number one all the way going into May. But it's very possible that it could stay in that top 5 all the way into May.
Oh, I think there's a very good chance that the majority of April, the top 2 movies for every weekend in April might fluctuate between Project Hail Mary and the Super Mario Galaxy.
And Mario.
I think there's a world where
Seriously.
that is the possibility.
I agree. And even once you get to May, like those first 2 weekends, you're talking about The Devil Wears Prada 2, which I'm hoping is a big hit.
I think
I'm
it will
really
be.
looking forward to that.
I think it will be.
And then the following weekend, you have Mortal Kombat 2, which is going to IMAX, so that it's going to dominate the screens there.
Sure.
But Mortal Kombat, like how much of a pulse is that going to have at the box office? I honestly don't know. And again, that opening weekend, I'm sure will do better than Project Hail Mary, which at that point would be 2 months into its run. But like, I don't know. Like I could see Project Hail Mary just being in that top 5 for a while. Unless there are some surprises along the way. And maybe there will be.
Yeah, there might be. Maybe Lee Cronin's The Mummy ends up being huge for whatever
for sure.
reason. Maybe people go into it confusing it for The Mummy 4 with Brendan Fraser, and they end up just getting a really good horror movie that they tell their friends about.
It's going to be the Christophers. Everyone's going to show up for Soderbergh.
Soderbergh needs to be the next filmmaker that people go see, like a Christopher Nolan or a Spielberg, where his name has this cachet to it.
Yeah. At any rate, I'm going to be real curious to see what Project Hail Mary does, because you're right. Other than Mario, there's not much competition for a while.
No, and this does happen a lot. Each year, I feel like we get 1 or 2 pre-summer movies that might as well be summer movies, right? That come out maybe in March or something like that. That holds strong for quite a while.
No, I think Project Hail Mary, and I say this begrudgingly because we are just a couple of weeks off the ceremony, but I think Project Hail Mary will circle back in the fall. I think this will be an Oscars player, 100%.
I think they'll re-release it.
Yeah, even if it doesn't linger in the same way that Sinners did, maybe it doesn't get a Best Picture nomination, but it's going to be in the conversation somewhere, for sure. Yeah, 100%.
I think so.
Look forward to that. All right, so that is Project Hail Mary. I am excited for its success. I might not fully love it like a lot of other people do, but I am very, very, very happy for the success of Project Hail Mary. Good movie, great book. I really, really loved the book. I would love to talk more about that in a VIP
Okay.
episode down the line here. All right, moving on. Let's talk about Lord of the Rings. So there is going to be another Lord of the Rings movie. And weirdly, there was pushback against this, and I'm not entirely sure why. So I asked this in good faith, genuinely. I would love to hear from people out there. Maybe this also circles back to you as well, Brendan.
Okay.
I honestly don't know anyone better on the planet Earth that could be or should be writing this movie aside from Stephen Colbert. There is no, objectively speaking, no bigger talking nerd on this earth, on this Middle Earth, than Stephen Colbert. He
I
is
agree with that.
he knows the lore more than anyone else. And I think what's interesting about this, and maybe where the pushback needs to be, and I have seen this a little bit, it's more in the logistics of it. And also I think there's been some cross-pollination in terms of what this is going to be about that's confused people.
Yeah.
Rightfully so, because when the report initially came out, like earlier in the week, it came with a plot synopsis, and the synopsis said that it takes place 14 years after the passing of Frodo.
Yep.
Sam, Merry, and Pippin set out to retrace the first steps of their adventure. Meanwhile, Sam's daughter Eleanor has discovered a long-buried secret and is determined to uncover why the War of the Ring was very nearly lost before it began. Okay, that reads very differently than what Steven said in the video, which I don't think a lot of people watched that. I think they just saw the headlines and freaked the heck out.
Yeah.
Instead of watching the video.
Because what you're referencing is when Stephen Colbert himself said this would focus on what chapters 3 through 7 of the Fellowship of the Ring, or something like that.
It's going to be centered around the chapters early on in the Fellowship of the Ring that were not developed in Peter Jackson's movie. So it's going from the chapters, quote, the title of the chapter is Three's Company, all the way to the chapter Fog on the Barrow Downs. That's what Steven said in the video.
Yeah.
So that doesn't read the same. That doesn't come off the same.
Those are completely different movies between that headline and those. Yeah.
Completely different movies. So which is it? And I tend to believe the words coming out of the horse's mouth. He's writing the movie, or at least he's one of the writers.
Unless maybe it's some combination of the two where the retracing of their steps will focus on those chapters, but tells a new story in the present time or something like that. The present time being 14 years after the passing of Frodo, which I don't know. I'm just trying to spitball as finding some way to see if there is synergy between the two headlines, but I really don't know as someone who hasn't read the book. But I'm with you. I tend to believe more what Colbert is saying than whatever news outlet is reporting on, because he is ultimately the one writing this thing. So I would have more trust in that for sure.
Yeah. I wonder about the film logistically. Again, going back to some of the criticisms I did see that made sense to me, because I don't like the pushback that Stephen Colbert is writing this, I think is just obtuse. It's silly. I don't understand that criticism at all, especially because he's not writing this by himself. He's writing this with a screenwriter that has been around for a long time and has worked with Peter Jackson before. So there's a collaboration going on here.
Yeah.
Also, Stephen, again, he knows this material deeper and more intimate than anyone else on this planet. Very objectively speaking.
Yeah.
If anyone else can make this work, it's very much him.
Can I offer a counter argument just to maybe look at this from the side of Colbert maybe being the point of criticism here? Because I don't disagree that he is perhaps the one most in tune with the lore of Lord of the Rings. He talks about it all the time on his show. He is, I remember when he had Robert Plant from Led Zeppelin on as a guest, and he was basically dissecting the lyrics of Led Zeppelin songs that constantly reference Tolkien and essentially telling them how they were inconsistent. Like, he is the one that is so closely tied to it.
Yeah.
I think there is a fair argument to be made that sometimes the biggest fans are not necessarily the ones to write that material because they could be too closely tied to it. And sometimes that is maybe a scary thing because we've sometimes seen that with Star Wars, for instance, where someone who might be too close of a fan with that property might not be the right person to tackle that particular story or that particular medium. And I don't know if that's going to be the case for Colbert. Personally, I sometimes like to see when creatives come in that are only like they have their own unique tie and relationship to the material that isn't really based on fandom. So like that's the one thing I would say is I'm a little bit curious about. I'm not fully won over by it because I don't know about that. That could be a really great thing or it could be a really scary thing.
Okay, so my pushback to the pushback is this. One, I haven't really seen people talk about that, which I think is part of my frustration with the initial response. I think people are just looking at, oh, Stephen Colbert's never written a movie before, and he's just this mega super fan, and that's been the majority of the criticism.
Okay.
I haven't seen one legitimate argument outside of what you just articulated there that made any sort of sense to me or had any cogency.
Okay, and that's fair. Yeah, because I think just looking at it superficially that, okay, just because he comes from a different medium or world, cinematically speaking, that means nothing to me. I mean, we've seen people stretch their wings and do it very well before. I don't necessarily mind that. It's the fandom part of it that I think can sometimes be a good thing or a very dangerous thing for certain forms of IP.
Yeah. My other bullet point here centers around the idea that, hey, sequels for a lot of this IP, the screenplays, not a great place. Not in a great place. So worst case scenario, Stephen Colbert's screenplay is simply the same fodder that we've seen a lot of recently. Worst case scenario. Best case, they're taking a swing on someone who ambitiously knows this better than anyone else. So you're not just hiring Joe Schmo, who's maybe written some good stuff before. Maybe they've written some terrible stuff before. Maybe they know the material. Maybe they don't. Which is why, like, I do appreciate that he's collaborating with other screenwriters who have experience writing screenplays. Because
that's a fair point. That's a very fair point.
It's different than what he does with his daily show.
Which kind of makes it seem like he might be more of a consultant on the story side of things with a credit to screenplay, more so than a sole writer, obviously.
Yeah. My guess is that he's developing the story using his knowledge of the characters and the lore and how they can develop this that makes sense given what those 6 chapters are. Yeah. And how can it tie to Peter Jackson's, because they've been pretty explicit that this is going to canonically tie to that.
Yeah.
Very well.
Yeah.
So he's my guess, my interpretation is that he's developing the story and then the screenwriter is going to take that and turn it into a screenplay.
Yeah,
like,
and he'll
which
probably
makes
still be,
sense.
Yeah,
that makes
he'll
sense.
Probably still be credited as a screenplay writer on it too. But
for sure,
this is the other thing too. I think like it almost seems as though people are acting like this is going to be a Stephen Colbert film, which is not the case.
Which is not the case.
We don't even know
who's directing it. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's going to say a lot. Whoever's directing this is going to be a huge revelation as to whether we're really excited about this or not. If it ends up being Andy Serkis, then I think we're going to be worried.
Well, exactly. If they announce Andy Serkis is directing, then all of a sudden my tune changes for sure. If they announce that Stephen Colbert is directing this, okay, now I am reserved.
Yeah.
That's a very different skill set than writing a screenplay. Very different skill set. He's never done it before. This is a huge, huge project, but who knows? Maybe he's the Peter Jackson of late night comedy.
Maybe.
Because when when Peter Jackson was hired to do this, nobody knew that he was going to be able to deliver that. Nobody.
No, I mean,
So who knows?
The closest movie he made up until The Lord of the Rings that was maybe the closest comparison that proved he could do it was Heavenly Creatures. Other than that, he
Yes.
was basically just the New Zealand version of Sam Raimi.
100%.
Yeah.
And that is not the ambitious scope of The Lord of the Rings and what he ended up delivering. So who knows? Maybe Stephen Colbert could be that. But I'm not counting on that. If they announced he was directing, I would admittedly be more worried.
Yeah.
But him as a screenwriter, a collaborator, and I think maybe that's the biggest thing that I found out this last week, Brendan, is that my fandom for The Lord of the Rings, and I deeply love that trilogy as much as anybody else. We've talked about it a lot on the show. We did a Lord of the Rings movie series a few years ago. We went deep into that initial trilogy. You can go back and listen to it. We had the greatest time talking about those 3 movies. I love them as much as the next person. But my fandom has limits because I could not muster the energy to give a shit about this, to rage bait and lose my mind over Stephen Colbert being a co-screenwriter for this. Oh, by the way, the biggest Tolkien nerd on the planet. I'm sorry, I can't get mad at that. I just can't. I can't muster the energy to get angry about that.
No, we'll be angry if we find out that someone that shouldn't be directing it is directing it. Now,
Yeah.
if we find out maybe in a few months that they've tapped, I mean, I doubt it's going to be Peter Jackson. I don't think he's going to be the one to do this. What if it ends up being someone like Guillermo del Toro as kind of a redemption arc for someone that was
That'd be fun.
supposed to do the Hobbit films and
Yeah.
then didn't do the Hobbit films?
Yeah. I do think to that point, that is the biggest question here. It is not Stephen Colbert. The biggest question here is who is directing this? If it's going to be Andy Serkis, I wholeheartedly, again, would be very worried. If it's Guillermo del Toro, okay, now you have my attention. If it's Denis Villeneuve, you have my attention. Not that I expect him to do this. I don't.
After
I'm just throwing
Bond,
it
now
out
he
there.
comes to Lord of the Rings.
Yes.
He'll eventually do something related to Star Wars and then Harry Potter. He basically
just
becomes the
moving down
franchise
line.
savior. But I don't know,
I
like the way that this plot synopsis was described in that headline, there does seem to be something very like Middle Earthy walk and talk about it. Maybe Richard Linklater will be the one to direct it.
I mean, who knows? That'll be the big question here, not Stephen Colbert. So the initial criticism, some of the pushback I saw, that just made zero sense to me. I think a lot of it is just vapid, loud, banging pots and pans because I want attention. That's what it screamed to me. Now, again, the thing for me, like, again, I am so not concerned about Stephen Colbert. I'm more concerned about who's directing. The other thing, and maybe this ties to who's directing as well, and going back to the criticism that I think holds the most water here, it again goes back to logistics. Because if this is going to be the first, or not the first, but some of the early 6 of the early chapters of Fellowship, so presumably you're bringing back those actors, and this is taking place at the beginning of the Fellowship of the Ring, the movie. You're going to be utilizing a lot of de-aging for this. A lot of makeup work, a lot of wig work. Like, how do you make that tie to the beginning of The Lord of the Rings when these kids or these actors, they were so young when they did this? Obviously, we're talking about 20, and by the time this film comes out, like,
It'll be close to 30
years.
It'll be close to 30 years.
I mean, that's a long time. Like,
2001.
you're going to have to de-age them 30 years. Like, how do you make that work logistically? Like, that's a fair criticism or a fair question to raise here.
Unless you recast. Which I don't think they're going to do.
Yeah, because again, they want to utilize this as IP, and part of the IP is bringing back those familiar faces.
Yeah. So,
I mean,
I don't know. Because like a lot of these familiar faces are already coming back for The Hunt for Gollum, right?
Very much so.
Elijah Wood is apparently coming back for that. Ian McKellen, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, unless, again, going back to the framing and the confusion of the synopsis that was given versus what Colbert said in the video, maybe the framing device here is that it does initially start off as the three hobbits going down memory lane and retracing their steps, and then it's just flashbacking to those early chapters in Lord of the Rings. And if that's the case, maybe in the flashback scenes, that's where you recast.
I mean, look, say what you will about the Hobbit films. They're not great, but one thing they did do very well was the recasting of Bilbo.
Yeah.
I thought that was good recasting in that one. So
I agree.
like, it's not outside the realm of, the impossible. It's possible.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's the biggest question I have here. And that's not a Colbert thing. That's not a story thing.
That's
or
a Lord of the
script
Rings thing.
Yeah, that's who can you get as a director to make that work and make that connection and make that believable without distracting the audience with, and this is a transition to what we'll talk about next.
Yeah.
With extremely bad makeup and hairstyling or bad de-aging effects.
Yeah.
You have to make that sharp and incisive and believable to immerse us into that story. Because I think there's great potential on paper with this, going back to Colbert and that idea that he has for this. I think it would be great.
Yeah.
If they can make the logistics work. And given the state of the industry right now, I think there's reason to be worried there.
There's a reason to be worried about just pretty much anything related to IP, just given how they're being churned out. So it's less of a Lord of the Rings problem and more so just a Hollywood IP problem, generally speaking.
Yeah, and I will say, I very much prefer, if we're going to live in a world where IP drives everything, I prefer these kind of swings than a lot of what we've also gotten that they've kind of turned out.
Yeah, like Disney.
And maybe that's where we can just transition to. I don't even know what to say about this trailer for Moana, the live action Moana.
I'm offended. We've never said this before, JD, but I'm going to say it now for maybe the first time ever. I want this movie to fail. I want it to fail.
Yeah, I'm there with you. I like, we try to be fun and upbeat and optimistic on this show. I have never seen a trailer for a movie and thought to myself, they very literally did not try at all. I tried to give each film the benefit of the doubt, like Lilo and Stitch last year. Okay, I didn't think much of it. It didn't look great to me, but at least the CG for Stitch looked fine. And
but it's everything else around that. Yeah, it's like it's the muddiness that we tend to see from many of these Disney live action remakes, even just Disney property owned IPs. Generally speaking, have this very plain, cardboard, dusty, unfinished look to them that look like they were designed more for a tightly pixelated form, like on television, for instance.
Yeah.
That's what they look like they're supposed to be for. But I feel like with Moana, this almost feels like they're giving us the middle finger for how much we've been complaining about.
Well, and that's why I wanted to go back to my point. I wanted to finish that here real quick, because I do think that is exactly what's happening here. I can point back to Moana or some of these other live action remakes, and you can tell that they are cutting corners. There's not much creativity or ingenuity there, but there are certain things about it. They go, I can see that working. I can see this working.
Yeah.
I can understand why people would have some sort of appeal to it.
Right.
Moana, this live action trailer from Moana, it's the first time I saw anything that Disney did and be like, they just didn't try, like, at all. From top to bottom. They, with the wig department, they went to some
Wigs
local
Are Us.
store. Wigs Are Us.
They went to some Spirit Halloween store that's been closed for like 3 years and just picked up a wig.
Yes, they just grabbed whatever was on the shelf at clearance.
It's not even just the wig. It's Dwayne Johnson's performance in that trailer.
Yes.
It literally looks like it has that dead in the eyes look that you tend to get from those old Robert Zemeckis animated movies like The Polar Express, for instance.
Yeah.
But this is actually a performance, which is even weirder, which means he's obviously not trying. And it just also or I guess confirms this whole idea that this trailer kind of looks like it was made by AI. Like it really does.
It very much does.
It looks like a fake movie.
It looks absolutely like a fake movie. I refuse to believe this is real. It looks so bad that I think we're being tricked here. I think we're all going to go to the movie theater when this comes out, and it's just going to be a Rickroll that comes on the screen.
I hope so.
I
would
tricked.
actually respect. I would respect Disney for that, which we know is not going to be the case. If anything, I don't know.
They put zero effort into this, and not only with the lazy wig and the performances, it's the same character designs from the animated movie. They're just repopulating. Like they didn't try at all. Like, okay, let's create the same animation. Obviously, they did not shoot this on location at all.
No.
It is very clear they shot this on some lot. The whole thing is CGI. Let's just prop in the same animation, same character design, but instead of the human characters, we'll cut them out and we'll put in Dwayne Johnson and the human cast.
Yeah.
That's what they're doing.
Yeah, it's a superimposed project, and
yes.
My hope, obviously, this is not going to be a Rickroll. We know that. But my hope is that this is something that Disney was essentially obligated to make due to whatever reason. I don't know whatever that reason is. And they're just dumping this out to get it done. And then they eventually start retooling these Disney live action remakes. Because, like, I am not against the idea of Disney doing live action remakes of some of their older movies. We've talked about many of them that actually could benefit from a live action remake, right?
Yeah.
Even some of the middle of the road films, like The Sword in the Stone, for instance, or The Black Cauldron, those are prime for a live action remake setting. But that's not what they're doing, obviously, because they're not as much of a moneymaker. But I hope that this is a last ditch effort to just say, let's just get this one out there, use the $1 billion it's going to make to fund how we retool these. Now, that's I'm being maybe way too optimistic about what their end goal is. But if that ends up being the case in the long run, I would be a little bit less angsty about that, even though I still hate the idea that this thing exists.
Yeah. And I don't know what to point the finger to. This honestly could be a byproduct of COVID. Because when I look back at a bunch of these live action remakes, a lot of them have not worked. They have fallen flat on their face. But I do think with Beauty and the Beast, they did do some interesting new things with that film.
They tried a few things.
A few things. It doesn't look as horrid as some of these others. I look at something like Dumbo. That took a swing as well. And I do respect that it kind of makes fun of Disney himself, which, Aladdin takes a few swings. I don't think that's a great movie, but I don't think it's a bad movie either.
No, it at least tries to be a little bit distinct from its animated counterpart.
Now, if we're going to point back to like pre-COVID, maybe the culprit here is a combination of COVID and the success of The Lion King. The Lion King comes out in July of 2019. So we're about 8 months away from COVID at this point.
Correct.
And that goes on to make $1 billion, a gazillion dollars.
That was
a
huge.
Shot-for-shot remake. Now, some of the animation is obviously very different. It's modernized, and you have a brand new cast, mostly. Not gonna harp on the guy. Mostly a brand new cast.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's the same but not entirely the same, but mostly the same. And it goes on to make $1 billion. So now Disney's like, well, look, we don't really have to do all that much different. I mean, look, we just made $1 billion making the same movie.
Yeah.
And then,
to be fair to Disney, not to really be fair to them, but to at least understand their point, a lot of people went to The Lion King not because of the artistry and the animation. That was a very well animated movie. Say what you will about The Lion King as a movie and as a piece of storytelling when compared to its animated counterpart, but the visual effects in that movie were pretty impressive.
Yeah.
But ever since then, they've been taking a nosedive because Disney feels as if people are mostly going to these movies purely for the nostalgia factor and not the cinematics of it.
Yeah.
And they're not wrong. There are a lot of people that are going for those things, and that's why they've been cutting corners like this.
I think that coupled with, and it's really unfortunate, but we also have to look at movies like Mulan and Cruella. Mulan, the more I think about it, it might be my favorite of these strictly for the fact that it has nothing to do with the animated film.
That's fair.
Looks, functions, it is totally different from the animated movie. And unfortunately, it's essentially just a loss for Disney because it comes out during COVID.
Yeah.
They spent $200 million on that movie. They were not able to release it wide in theaters the way they hoped to. We don't know how it would have turned out at the box office. Maybe it would have been big. We don't know. Do the streaming numbers on Disney Plus, does that justify the cost to Disney? I don't think they've said. So and given where things have gone since then, my guess is they look at that as just a major loss.
Probably.
And then the next year, again, to be fair to Cruella, we're still in the middle of COVID, still trying to figure out how this is going to look and function. But that film only grosses 233. Now, it only cost $100 million. So it might have broke even, perhaps, or came close to breaking even. But still, I think given the idea of what these are supposed to be, 233, again, it's COVID. You almost have to forgive it, but it's Disney. I don't think they do forgive it. No. They're much more cruel about these things, pun intended, I guess.
They're pretty they like to scoff at the non-money makers. If you're not rich, they don't want anything to do with you.
Absolutely not. So those two films, and again, Cruella is its own unique little vehicle. That's why I couple those together. Those two films are Disney taking swings artistically, and it did not work for them financially.
Another one you can throw in there, and this is a very unfortunate example because this was a very compromised film that they just threw on Disney Plus, but that was Peter Pan and Wendy.
Yeah, exactly.
Which many people even forgot even exists.
Yes. Yeah. I wouldn't blame anyone for forgetting that.
It's not great, but at least try something.
For sure. And then, so following that, you have The Little Mermaid, which does 569 worldwide, Mufasa 722 worldwide, and then Snow White is kind of the outlier here, where that one bombs drastically. That one's terrible. But Lilo and Stitch goes on to make $1 billion. So when you look at The Lion King in 2019, if you want to include Aladdin as well, because that also came out in 2019. So from Aladdin, The Lion King, The Little Mermaid, Mufasa, The Lion King, and Lilo and Stitch, those all did very well. And the common through line there is, we didn't really do all that much to change it.
Yeah.
It's almost verbatim the exact same. The movies where they took swings, they bombed. So I think all of that has led to this point where they said, Moana, the animated film, that's been a big hit for us. Yep. Why on God's green earth would we change a goddamn thing about it?
Well,
we are sitting on $1 billion. All we have to do is re-release the animated film, but superimpose the human cast. That's it.
Oh, it's I say this very non-complimentary, but it's a very smart business move because there's clearly going to be a Moana 3, an animated Moana 3 at some point, and clearly Disney doesn't want to wait that long. So they want to have something new to fill in the gap, make some money, because Moana 2 is a huge hit. That was a terrible movie, but it was a huge hit.
Yeah. And we've gotten to the point now where, again, all of those films I listed, we can point to certain things about them where it's not exactly the same as the animated film. They changed a few things here and there. Mm-hmm. But I think generally across the board, they looked at that central theme. We didn't change much. Those are the ones that did well. The movies where we changed a lot, huge bombs. So now, all these years later, they didn't try. They didn't even try. And that film is going to make $1 billion, and I'm going to be super goddamn
for a movie. They're doing this for a movie that's 10 years old. It's only 10 years old. I can't believe that.
So, to Brendan's point, I hope this film fails drastically. Fails
it won't,
miserably.
but I hope it does.
I just even those that aren't in this space, you're just a normal person who goes to the movies 3 times a year. Mm-hmm. Surely you look at this and go, man, this looks bad. Right? That the average person on the street has eyes still. There's no way they're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go.
I've talked to a lot of people in my life, whether it be family, friends, or coworkers that are not part of the film critic space. These are the ones that say The Lion King 2019 is a masterpiece because it's the same. That's what they say. It's like, I want to see the same thing. That's what they all say. So the audience is there for this. And sadly, I guess we as critics are the minority.
I can't, Brendan. I can't.
I'm sorry. And obviously those that I'm speaking to, this is my circle. This is not representative of America or the world, right? Maybe if you polled the entire country, it would be a very different result. I don't know.
I'm going to poll my family this week. I'm going to poll everyone that I know, and I'm going to ask them. I'm going to be like, I'm doing an experiment. I want to know.
Yeah. I want to see what those results are.
Because it drives me crazy.
I remember here's a fun story for you. I remember when I went to see The Lion King 2019. I went to see it by myself. I went to the theater because we had to review it.
I did too.
And when I got out of the theater to my car wouldn't start. It's because the battery had died. So I had to call AAA. I was on the phone with AAA and they wanted to know my location. I said where I was. And the woman on the other line was like, oh, what did you go see? And I said The Lion King. She goes, oh, what a masterpiece. It's just like the original. It's so good. It's so good. This is just some stranger that I was on the phone with because I needed someone to jumpstart my car.
Gosh. Yeah. I mean, I live in a different world than most people, I guess. I just can't.
Maybe the classiness in Pennsylvania is just at a lower tier or something like that.
The only thing I could ever say about that movie or Mufasa is that Hans Zimmer's score is a cheat code.
It is.
If I was moved in those movies at all, it was because of Hans Zimmer. And that's just a credit to his original masterwork of the animated movie.
Kind of like John Powell for How to Train Your Dragon.
Exactly. But that's Hans Zimmer in the animated film doing the work.
Yeah.
Not the remakes. The remakes. At any rate. That
was a fun rant.
This trailer is extremely offensive. There's no way it's a real movie. There's no way. It looks like a Saturday Night Live sketch. Where they're making fun of what a Moana trailer would look like.
I saw someone tweet this. It looks like a T-Mobile commercial.
Yes, that was one of the most viral tweets I saw as well.
Yeah, don't remember who tweeted it, but
it looks like a commercial, or it looks like an AI movie. Or it looks like a parody that you would see on a sketch show.
Yep.
It does not look like a real movie, especially when we see movies like Project Hail Mary, or last week when we were talking about Dune Part 3, or Spielberg and his new movie coming up, or The Odyssey when you see trailers for that. I mean,
Don't we like it when movies are, movies?
What are you doing, Disney? Good Lord.
Well,
At least try.
Well,
At least try.
Well, there's a good T-shirt design for you. Just a picture of that shot of Maui, Dwayne Johnson in this particular iteration of Moana, and the tagline just says, "I'm not a movie."
I might have to. Real quick before we get to our main topic this week, speaking of trailers, the end of Oak Street. I want to get your thoughts on this.
Oh, this looks kind of fun. Looks like a bit of a change of pace for David Robert Mitchell.
Yeah.
The trailer does suggest that it's from the director of It Follows. It very curiously ignores the fact that he also directed a very underappreciated movie called Under the Silver Lake, which I think is quite great.
Yep.
This looks like his version of like a 1980s Amblin film. And I believe Amblin is, I don't know if Amblin's a producer on it, but I know Bad Robot is. And this does have J.J. Abrams as a producer, if I'm not mistaken. So it does look like it's going for kind of that like 80s Amblin-like energy, but with a more modern twist. It has a really clever premise. Looks fun. And I like that it's very cryptic about what it's choosing to show us. So I was pretty impressed by it. It looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think this looks great. The only concern, maybe I shouldn't say concern, and I hate that I even said that word because what it means is that I've fallen victim to online conspiracy because a lot of people have been joking, or maybe they're serious about it. I don't know, saying that this is a secret Cloverfield movie.
Oh gosh,
really
I
hoping
not.
that's not the
hope
case.
not.
Really, really hoping that is not the case. And I know that J.J. Abrams has been known for his trickery. I don't think that's going to be the case here. Looking at this at face value, I think it looks awesome. I think it looks really great. I'm really curious what this premise is going to be. This movie about this neighborhood that also includes dinosaurs. What is that going to look like in the hands of David Robert Mitchell? Because we've never really seen him like create a movie that has scope like this, potentially anyway.
Yeah, spectacle. He's
spectacle. Yes,
he's very
and maybe that's the best word there. Yeah.
He's good with tension, and he's good with like, his movies are weird. Like he's made some weird movies. I don't love It Follows like everyone else, but I did really like Under the Silver Lake. But both of these movies do have a weirdness to them. They have an edge to them.
They do.
I'm hoping this one's the case. This one's the same as well.
I love It Follows. I think it's really great. Under the Silver Lake is very good, messy, and flawed and ambitious, but also quite incredible as well. So yeah, I do really like his movies, and I'm really curious where his thumbprint is going to converge with whatever the spectacle of this is going to be. But it looks like a ton of fun. I can't wait.
The central premise is kind of cool. Like the whole idea that it's the street, your neighborhood, that just relocates to some random world. Like that's the way Anne Hathaway sells that line is pretty funny.
It's great. Yeah. And you also have Michael Giacchino doing the score here. And that
another
also
reason why I think this is going to have some like 1980s Spielbergian like energy to it.
He could definitely bring that to life for sure.
I mean, yeah, Michael Giacchino is his own composer. He has his own sense of melody, but he has channeled John Williams in a few of his films before, like with Super 8, for instance. That is a straight up John Williams copycat score, but it's trying to do that. Like that is the goal.
Yeah.
Same with Jurassic World. He was very much channeling John Williams with some of his new themes. And
he's done dinosaur movies before. I completely forgot.
Well, maybe this is a Jurassic movie.
Maybe it's a secret Jurassic movie. There it is. We figured it out.
We just did. It's thanks to Michael Giacchino.
Yeah. All right, Brennan, let's talk about coffee.
Oh,
It
world
is
medicine,
my favorite.
adult medicine. Keeps us alive.
I drink so much coffee, it's absurd. And if you're going to drink coffee, if you love it like I do, you need great coffee in your life. You have no idea how much of a game changer this is for me. With Coffee Cult, their coffee is so good. It's like what's the best moment of epiphany you've ever seen in a movie? What would that be? when someone has the light bulb that goes on and be like, oh my God, this is it.
Oh man, I mean, weirdly, the first thought that came to mind was not even a movie. It's when Link from The Legend of Zelda opens some type of chest, and it's that's basically you and coffee.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, the moment, it's not just me. The moment you have high quality coffee like Coffee Cult, you're going to have that moment. It's going to be that light bulb moment that goes, oh my God, my life has changed.
It's going to awaken this new phase where you realize that coffee,
it's different.
It's the construction and the making of coffee can actually be an art.
Yes.
And an ethical one at that, made very ethically and sourced very ethically simultaneously. So there's actually some good things to be mined from the process as well.
Yes. Yes. Because, they do it the right way. They know the farmers, and they go extra steps to make sure that when the coffee comes, all of those little defects and everything that can come with your coffee, they remove all of that.
Absolutely.
So it's literally the best coffee you can buy. And they roast it to make sure all those natural flavors are still intact in the best way. So when it's not your store-bought coffee.
Nope.
It's not store-bought at all. It's not old. They roast to order. So once your order comes in, they roast it that day and ship it out that week. You will get it. That coffee that you get when you order Coffee Cult, it was roasted that week, guaranteed.
As fresh as can be.
It is extremely fresh, high quality. If you're used to drinking store-bought stuff or other places that have green in their logos as well, you're gonna taste the difference. I promise you, you're gonna love it.
There's no need to turn this into caffeinated milk.
No.
Yeah, this will make you a fan of black coffee.
Yeah, so go to coffeecult.com, coffee with the K, call with the K, coffeecult.com. At checkout, use the code ISF26. Again, that code is ISF26. You'll get 15% off your order.
Yeah.
So go and check it out, coffeecult.com, and we thank them for their support. All right, Brennan, let's talk about t-shirts and swag. We love the merch that we have, and we have some more that I need to be working on. You haven't heard it yet because we are about to talk about it in the next segment. But there are a few times Brennan brings up the idea of, hey, you need to make that into a t-shirt. So I'm working on it. There's more in the works.
I feel like over half of our t-shirt designs just come because of conversations we've had on this show.
And that's the fun thing about it, right? It's an in-session film store. So when you go to our store, some of the designs that you see there, they're just movie related stuff. So even if you don't listen to the show all that often, you can understand why there's a t-shirt there.
Oh yeah.
But also some of it is just straight up, you're not going to understand the shirt at all unless you listen to this show. And that's also part of the fun. We have a design up there. Movies are my expensive form of therapy. That's an in-session film only thing that we have up there. What's another one? Stop turning art into sports. That's an in-session film one.
I guess the worst thing that ever, or the best thing that ever happened to La La Land was that it lost Best Picture to Moonlight.
Yeah, that's an in-session film podcast moment. That's what that is.
Yeah, but they're not all like that. Some of them are very basic movie related kind of things. Like there's one for The Wild Robot that's really good. There's one for 28 Years Later that's also very good, and they're very much of a piece with their own respective films, not in relation to the conversations we've had on the In-Session Film podcast.
Exactly. So we have a lot of fun stuff up there. We have a brand new Project Hail Mary shirt that we launched this last week. So for those that have seen that movie, if you like Rocky as a character, and who doesn't love Rocky, we have a Rocky Amaze shirt up that you want to go and check out. I plan on getting that one. Two of our new designs that we have up there that are in-session film inspired are just kind of, I took our logo and kind of reshaped them into a fun little design. I plan on getting one of those soon as well. I really like how those turned out. So if you want to check out any of our merch, there's a couple of ways to do that. You can go to insessionfilm.com/store, insessionfilm.com/store, or because we host our stuff through TeePublic, you can also go to insessionfilm.dashery.com. Dashery is one of their subsidiaries that allows us to have our own website essentially through TeePublic. So if you go to insessionfilm.dashery.com, it's basically like going to our store site. So there you can see all of our shirts. I actually have them discounted a little bit than buying straight through TeePublic normally. But TeePublic also has a bunch of their own discounts and sales going on all the time. So you can go and check them out. We have all that stuff there. Again, insessionfilm.com/store or insessionfilm.dashery.com. Either way, every time you get a shirt from us or a sticker or anything that they have to offer there, it all goes back into making sure this stuff happens each and every week. So we really do appreciate your support. So go get a t-shirt, and we thank you for doing so. All right. So we didn't really get a chance to mention this at the beginning because I just went straight into talking about Project Hail Mary and our review and the box office. But with Mario coming out this weekend, Brennan and I decided that we are going to be doing another consensus ranking this week. And we are going to be focusing on animated sequels. Animated sequels is the topic here. And Brennan and I have not really talked about how many we're going to do. A top 10 is typically what we tend to do here. But I guess it depends on what we're doing.
Yeah, it depends. This is one where I think it could be interesting to go either way, whether we do a top 10 or just a simple top 5. And the reason why is because in my research, and I'm sure in your research as well, JD, there are not many very good animated sequels. Like there are some that are very good, but there are a lot that are not. Like for instance, Moana 2 is not going to be on this.
No, it is not going to be on the list. I agree. But, you know, I think where this does get interesting is kind of in that 5 through 10 range. Because because we'll agree with what's at the top. The order might fluctuate a little bit, but generally, I think we'll have, you know, like those at the top, we won't have to debate. It's going to be the bottom half that we'll have to debate.
Where we're trying to pull some more what we feel are good and worthy ones for a list like this.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of like when we did Pixar some weeks back, and we were just trying to figure out what that middle is going to be.
I'm looking at my research now, JD. I think we're going to land on a top 5 within a matter of minutes. And when I say minutes, I mean like 2 or 3 minutes. I think is when we'll land on a top 5. Maybe even the order.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we landed pretty close as far as the top 5 goes. Yeah. So it's just going to kind of depend on where. That's why I'd like to do a 10 because the bulk of this conversation is going to be on what do we include here, because there are a lot of mediocre to bad sequels for sure. So where do you want to start? Should we get the top out of the way?
Let's get the goodies out of the way. And I feel like our number 1 and number 2, whatever the order ends up being, it's going to be between 2 films. And I feel like it's going to be between either Toy Story 3 or How to Train Your Dragon 2. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've always been on the How to Train Your Dragon 2 train. But I mean, ultimately, it is kind of a coin flip.
I feel like given the release of Toy Story 5 this year, I feel like we should put Toy Story 3 at number 1 just to keep selling the point home that this should have just stayed a trilogy.
I mean, I think that's perfectly fair. Also, I am very much willing to concede that you and I are in a minority when it comes to How to Train Your Dragon. Most people will point to Toy Story 2 and 3 as the best animated sequels. And understandably so. They are masterpieces. Absolutely. But I think How to Train Your Dragon 2, and I've said this forever, I think if you swap out the DreamWorks logo at the beginning with Pixar, the reputation of that film changes overnight.
It has more of a Pixar
Overnight.
energy than it does a DreamWorks
Yes.
energy. There are two DreamWorks films that feel more complimentary to Pixar than they do even DreamWorks, and one of them is How to Train Your Dragon 2, and the other one is The Wild Robot.
Yeah,
They have more of a Pixar energy to me.
100%. It blows my mind the emotional fortitude, the bold swings that film takes. The fact that it doesn't get talked about more is nothing short of astounding to me. It is unbelievable that those first two How to Train Your Dragon movies are as good as anything in Pixar's filmography, hands down, full stop. I'm not even going to have the debate.
Yeah.
That's just how it is.
Dragon 2 is also the highest Metascore of them all. It's like at like a 77. That's close to what they deem universal acclaim. That's a hell of a response.
That stunning animation, especially at the time. It's unbelievable.
So those are I want those to be the top two in some way. Right now,
I agree.
I'm leaning
I mean,
toward,
and again, like I understand, like if we want to have Toy Story 3 and number 1, that's fine. I'm not going to push back. I mostly just want to champion How to Train Your Dragon 2 because you and I are its biggest champions. And
it's an amazing movie.
yes. And so anytime we have the opportunity, I think it's worth repeating, even if most of our listeners don't agree. But I think having it at number 2 is fine because most people listening to this will probably want Toy Story 3 at number 1. And I think that's fine. That's fair.
I think that's fair.
I can live with that.
But I'm still happy to put How to Train Your Dragon 2 above Toy Story 2. So Toy Story 2, I guess, could be in third place. Although there is one other one that I think maybe we should put in third place, maybe even above Toy Story 2. And that one is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
That's the other one on the list. Yeah.
Okay.
And personally, I would have that at number 3 here.
I think I would too. I had that movie in my top 10 the year it came out. I think I had it like number 8, which was 2023. I think
in
it
my top
was
10 as well. Yep.
Yeah, and honestly, that one still sticks with me. Like, there's something about the inventiveness of that movie that I think
my gosh. Yeah, it's incredible.
It's bold and innovative in a way that I think we're going to remember in 15 or 20 years.
100%. And it has some fascinating narrative swings as well that's really compelling. And depending on how that third film sticks the landing, it could offer even more sophistications to it. So,
one of the best trilogies ever.
It's on its way. It's on its way. So yeah, Across the Spider-Verse, I think, is very much in that conversation with Toy Story 3 and Dragon 2, 100%.
Okay, so then maybe Toy Story 2 at number 4.
Yes.
Okay, and then to round out the fifth spot here, maybe Incredibles 2?
Yeah, so this is where it gets interesting because Incredibles 2, I'm very high on. I think you're pretty high on as well.
Yeah.
But it seemingly has like this middling reputation. And I don't understand why. I really don't get it.
I think the first 2/3 of it are better than its original. But it's where it gets to it's its third act that I think is a little sloppy. That's really the biggest problem with it.
Sure. Yeah, and that's understandable. I do think it is the weakest element of that film, but I still think it's pretty great overall. And as a parent, I mean, the way it depicts newborn parenthood is tremendous. I mean, we've joked forever that it's almost like a documentary.
Well, I'll tell you what. In about a month or two, I'll tell you that.
You'll know,
and I'll come back saying it's the greatest movie ever made.
I mean, you might, yeah.
No,
it's quite incredible. So I am there with you on that. I think maybe my only hesitation, and again, this circles back to you and I, and maybe that is just the theme of this conversation that has come to light, that you and I just tend to champion these movies that don't have as great of a reputation. I'm also thinking Frozen 2. And I understand that Frozen 2 is not as, it might not be as sharp or as clean as Incredibles 2, but there's just something about the swings of that movie that are just so compelling to me.
I want Frozen 2 in the list somewhere.
Yeah.
In the top 10. Yeah.
Maybe not that high. That's fair. but that's the only other one that comes to mind that might fight for this spot.
I think that's fair. It's not as tightly woven as that first film, but I mean the comparisons to Alex Garland's Annihilation are very fair.
Very fair, right? Like, yeah, unbelievable. So
I respect
yeah.
this movie. I really respect it.
I do. Even if it is a bit messier, it's one of those movies where it hits all the right notes and it takes these incredible swings and the animation is phenomenal. And I've always liked that first Frozen because it subverts that Disney formula that made Disney so famous. And I think it gets unfair pushback because it was just this monster in the zeitgeist and was so incredibly popular. And when something gets so popular, guess what the internet does? It tries to make you unpopular.
Yep.
And that kind of behavior, I think, is kind of ridiculous. But that said, while messier, I do think Frozen 2 is, like, I very much prefer it to that first Frozen.
I do too.
100%.
Just based on ambition alone.
Yeah, just on the ambition alone. Yeah.
I think the same could be said about another animated sequel from around this time, another Disney one, and that's Ralph Breaks the Internet.
Yeah, so that one I'm very high on as well.
Yeah.
And that's in, I have that in this same range for Incredibles 2.
Okay.
And again, my only hesitation there, and hesitation might be the wrong word, but I feel like I'm just alone on an island when it comes to maybe both of these movies. I don't know.
I think they're both very good. I think they definitely have their fans. I don't know if I'm quite as passionate about them as you are, but I think they're both very good. And in some ways, again, it's kind of like what I just described with Frozen 2 versus Frozen 1. I think Wreck-It Ralph is a more tightly interwoven movie, but I like the weird like bigness and simultaneous smallness of Ralph Breaks the Internet.
Yeah.
Like it's a more contained film while also broadening the scope simultaneously. And it feels very different. I like that it feels very different.
Yeah. And I do like how Ralph Breaks the Internet also, like, it has these narrative swings that are fascinating given what that first movie is. You don't necessarily expect this film to go the way that it does. And so it has a bit of that How to Train Your Dragon 2 energy for it, like thematically speaking.
Yeah.
And so I find it so intricately layered in that regard. And also it just has these really fun gags throughout that I think are really great that tie into its film's themes.
Yeah, I think it might be a funnier movie than its predecessor by a slight
Perhaps.
margin.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I do think, sorry to cut you off, but I do think Frozen 2 and Ralph Breaks the Internet almost kind of feel like companions of a sort in the way that they both look back at their predecessors and kind of deconstruct them a little bit.
Yeah. It's that deconstructionist mentality of Ralph Breaks the Internet that I really like. And I think that first one is among Disney's very best. Like, I don't know if it's because of the reputation of Pixar at the time. You know, you're just a few years off. You know, 2012, it was just 2 years removed from Toy Story 3 and that incredible run that Pixar had in the 2000s.
Yeah.
The Disney animation, they were in a bit of a lull. So I get the idea of falling victim to that in the moment with Brave. And Brave to me is middling Pixar at best. For me, it's close to my bottom 5. I don't really like it all that much.
I know. Yeah, I know.
But Wreck-It Ralph, I think, is one of Disney's best. Genuinely.
I think it's a very good movie. Yeah.
It's really, really great.
And certainly came out at the right time, kind of gave a rebirth to that phase of Walt Disney animation specifically, because then they had Big Hero 6. They had Frozen.
Yes.
They had some of these sequels that were also very interesting
Yeah.
and bold. So, the 2010s were, we harp on Disney a lot, but the 2010s, Disney also did bring us some pretty cool things.
Yeah.
And the animation side.
On the animation side, it's never been a problem on the animation side. It's everywhere else. That's the problem. And they had a more consistent decade than Pixar. I don't know if it ever reached the same heights as Inside Out and Toy Story 3, but it was more consistent, and it still had some pretty great highs of its own. And again, because we're here talking about the sequels, Ralph Breaks the Internet also in that same decade, so it's still tethered to that conversation.
Right.
Again, I just love that there are no villains in that movie, and its main dramatic through line wraps up halfway through. So the entire second half of that film, it's all about that deconstructionist mentality.
Yeah.
And I think it does it quite dazzling. I just don't think it gets the credit it deserves. But so yeah, I would very much have it right here with Incredibles.
Okay,
100%.
so I feel like we're pretty much dead set on Toy Story 3, How to Train Your Dragon 2, Across the Spider-Verse, and Toy Story 2. Those, I think, are the top 4.
Yeah.
As far as how we go from here, sounds like we've talked about Incredibles 2, Frozen 2, and Ralph Breaks the Internet. I don't know if that'll end up being the order, but if these 3 end up in our top 10 somewhere, I'm not opposed to that.
Yeah. I agree. And those 3 are very much in that next phase for me.
Okay. So let's see, where do we go from here? What else is in that next phase for you? And we also have to acknowledge that there might be some that you've seen that I haven't seen, and vice versa. And there's one animated film or animated sequel rather, I did want to highlight that I don't think you've seen. So, and it's very high for me, but there are a lot of animated Batman movies, right? And we haven't seen all of them, but Jay Oliva, his name is, did an adaptation of The Dark Knight Rises, and it was split into 2 parts. Part 2 is kind of a masterpiece, and I don't know if you've seen it. And if you haven't seen it, then I guess we can't fairly rank it here. But I do think it's excellent. It's absolutely excellent.
No, yeah, I've not seen either of those movies, so
I would love to get your thoughts on it someday.
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely pop them on. I just can't really speak to any of those. The other one that I was thinking about here is Puss in Boots, like that latest
Last
one.
Wish, yeah,
Last Wish is also quite good.
Well, I'm okay putting that here primarily for the reason that it was, again, much like with Frozen 2 and Ralph Breaks the Internet, kind of subversive, not just with its predecessor, but also just the whole Shrek formula, generally speaking. I don't love The Last Wish as much as everyone else, but I appreciate the fact that it's taking some bold swings and that it's an animated movie that's not afraid to tap into the concept of anxiety. It does that very well. So I appreciate that. So that's definitely one I'm not opposed to, at least considering here for now.
Yeah, I'm pretty high on that film. I would... as far as like a ranking or a grade, I don't know if I subjectively like it as much as those other 3 we mentioned, Incredibles 2, Ralph, and Frozen 2. But I'm pretty close in terms of ranking and grade. I think the quality of that film is very much there. I just, personally prefer those other 3. But yeah, I agree with you. I think there's a lot going on in that film. I think it juggles its themes pretty well. The animation is great. So yeah, that was one of the better surprises of 2022 or whenever that film came out.
There's some really cool animation in that movie too.
Yes,
it does some pretty neat things.
Yeah, Last Wish is that was really fun. I enjoyed that a lot. So that's very much on the list here for me.
Yeah, certainly an improvement. A lot of our films are probably going to be very modern. There are not many animated sequels that are worth talking about that might date back to the 90s or 2000s, because many of them were direct to video and they were designed to be inferior versions. Are there any that are worth noting? Maybe outside of The Lion King 2, Simba's Pride, which I know has its fans, and I do think it's a pretty good movie. Even some of the songs were good enough to make it to the Broadway adaptation of The Lion.
Yeah.
So,
well, and that's where, because we're at that phase of the conversation where I knew this would get tricky, right?
Yep.
I don't know if any of those direct to video sequels, I don't know if they move the needle all that much for me. A lot of the DreamWorks stuff doesn't really work for me all that well. I think the Kung Fu Panda films are fine, but I'm not head over heels in love with them.
I kind of want to get those out of the way. Kung Fu Panda, they're all fun in their own way, but I'm not in love with them. Same with the Ice Age movies. Same with the Despicable Me movies and the Minions movies.
Yeah.
Any sequel related to those respective franchises don't really do much for me. And I know a lot of people are going to be chomping at the bit for us to finally acknowledge this particular one, but I don't know if I want to put Shrek 2 on here either.
Yeah, I don't love the Shrek movies generally. They're just not
fun.
for me.
They're fun. I will say Shrek 2
Yeah.
is probably my favorite of them all, but even then, like I feel like the movies that we've already talked about, I would absolutely take them over any of the Shrek movies.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree. I don't like that first one. I can acknowledge its greatness. I do really like it. I think it's fun, but yeah, just I don't know. That franchise just doesn't hit. This doesn't hit my subjective taste very well.
I think it was great for the
They're
time.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're fine. Like, I'm not anti-Shrek. I'm not here carrying a torch saying let's burn the movies to the ground. I think they're fine. They just don't lift me beyond that threshold.
Yeah. I agree.
That's just where I'm at with
At times there are very funny movies though.
I haven't seen this film since it came out. I don't know if you have either. Do you have any thoughts on Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs 2?
Nothing passionate. No, nothing passionate.
I don't know if I do either. That's why I kind of raised it as a question, because I liked it okay at the time. I didn't love it, and I haven't had a chance to revisit it. I really liked that first one quite a bit, but I wasn't sure if it'd be anything to really wrestle with here.
Well, that first one was Lord and Miller, right?
Yes.
So
yeah.
that second one, I know they were probably still involved from a writing and producing.
Yeah, I'm sure they were
standpoint.
producers, but yeah.
Yeah, but it doesn't quite have the same timing.
No.
And the same can be said about the Lego Movie 2. The Lego Movie 2 and Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs 2, I think, are kind of in that same space where they're fine.
Yeah, the Lego Movie 2 as a concept and as a movie, culturally speaking, has always been so funny to me. And and it's because like that first Lego movie comes out, and you have to put yourself in the mind space of 2014. And that's really hard to do because COVID has messed all of us at our cores. And and this was 12 years ago now. But when that film came out, there was universal praise all over the place, and it made a ton of money, and it was all over. It was this huge surprise that nobody saw coming, and we all loved it. We all praised it. I think it's like, I would argue 2014 is one of the best years for animation ever. And
it absolutely
it's
is.
a big part of that conversation. It's great. And then they announced a sequel is coming out, and nobody blinked. And then they made the movie, and it comes out, and nobody cared. Like this huge sensation of a movie. Hey guys, we're doing a sequel, and everyone's just like, oh, okay.
I think everyone just instinctually knew it was not going to be as good. I think everyone just had this.
Cared.
It just
Nobody
gave this
cared.
energy. Like I don't think it's that anyone cared. I think just everyone had this like feeling like there's no way it's going to be as good as that first one. Why bother?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, maybe that's what it is. I don't know. I always laughed at that, because even when I went to the theater to see that, and funny enough, I saw that movie at Disney World, and I know it's not a Disney movie, but they played it at the theater I went to.
They did.
I don't know. I just thought I've always found that funny.
That is funny, but it's like all these animated movies or these animated sequels specifically that we just sort of rounded out here, whether it be from Illumination or DreamWorks. In this case, the Lego Movie 2, they all kind of fit into that same space where I feel like they're fine. If any, I mean, if we're going to take things back a little bit and look at classic Disney, I'm more passionate about The Rescuers Down Under, for instance.
Yeah. So I was thinking about The Rescuers Down Under as well. This is going to have to be a you making a case for some of these others, because I straight up don't like that movie. I think that one is straight up bad. I'm not a huge fan.
I mean, I'm not in love with it. I like it more than the original, from what I remember
Fair.
at least.
Yeah.
But I'm saying that as a comparison to, let's say, the Kung Fu Panda 2s of the world or the Despicable Me 2s of the world. I'm more passionate about something like The Rescuers Down Under, simply because I do have a little bit of a nostalgic relationship to that.
Okay.
So like, I'm not saying it needs to be in our top 10. I was mostly bringing that up as a point of
Fair.
comparison. If there is one from quote unquote classic Disney that, again, I'm not going to say it needs to be in our 10, but I might like even more than a lot of these that we just got done talking about. I think Fantasia 2000 is kind of underrated.
Okay, now we're talking.
Yeah, this is kind of underrated.
Yeah. Okay, I honestly, maybe it's because I didn't have as much time as I would have liked to do homework on this, but that just kind of slipped my mind.
Okay.
And look, I don't think it's nearly as good as that first Fantasia, but yeah, I mean, if we're talking about movies that kind of fall into that middle range, I'd be much more down for that than Shrek 17 or wherever.
Oh, me too. Me too. I think out of all of these ones that we just got done rattling off, Fantasia 2000 is at the very least the most interesting. And it's because it at least tries to still stick to the Fantasia formula, which was not a sellable premise even at the time. And I appreciate that. I appreciate that it tried to take an artistic swing still. It was certainly a more popularized version. It featured more well-known celebrities. I mean, Steve Martin's even in it. But like, it still maintains the ethos of what Fantasia is supposed to be. And I appreciate that. I really do.
Yeah, and I think that whale sequence is more memorable than most of these others that we
I agree.
That's
a great sequence.
Yeah. I love that. So like, I think that one's certainly possible for kind of at the bottom here for sure.
Okay. So I'm going to add that to the list of potentials. So potentials include, like, unranked potentials at this point include the likes of Incredibles 2, Frozen 2, Ralph Breaks the Internet, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, Fantasia 2000. I know we passively talked about like Lion King 2, maybe even Lion King 1.5, but I think there might be some better ones still at play that we haven't acknowledged yet.
Well, this one is super recent, but
I know where you're going with this.
I think Zootopia 2 is pretty good. I really like that one a lot. Maybe not as much as others did, but I really like that one a lot. That one was really good. And also kind of like it's a bit like Ralph Breaks the Internet and how it tethers to that first film and then does its best to undermine it a little bit, or at least further expand on what's already there. And it does it in a really enjoying way. I liked it a lot.
Still haven't watched it. I still haven't watched it.
Still haven't seen it. Still, you've had all these months, Brendan.
I've prioritized other things. Like,
Still haven't seen Zootopia 2.
Like building cribs is basically what I've been doing.
You can't build cribs and watch Zootopia. It's on Disney Plus now. You have had all this opportunity.
Yeah, our Disney Plus has been canceled for the past 3 months.
Oh God. Well, I think that one very much qualifies here.
I think that's fair. I and even though I haven't seen it, if you feel that this needs to be on this list, I will probably just say, you know what? I'll take your word for it. We tend to have the same brain anyway. I might just trust you on that. So like, I guess, I mean, that does give us a 10 right now. If we include Zootopia 2, but I know you're also passionate about Inside Out 2, which we haven't acknowledged yet.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That's on my list here. I don't even know how I didn't bring that up yet.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Inside Out 2, where would I put this? Cause I definitely didn't rank these. See, like, where do I go? And Inside Out 2, just again, thematically just fits in right in line with the rest of these, right? Because it did great at the box office. I don't think anyone was championing Inside Out 2 necessarily. But I very much would go to bat for that film in the same way that we did for Incredibles 2, or that I would for Ralph Breaks the Internet or Frozen 2. Like it's in that same category for me. Not just because of how it does a great job of taking Riley's adolescence and heightening it further as she develops new emotions, such as anxiety, who I think is such a great character in that movie. But we've also talked to death how it genuinely, and I mean this with every fiber of my being, it is genuinely one of the best hockey movies I've ever seen.
I know. Well, that again, another T-shirt design. Why haven't you made that yet?
I need to get on that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It really is. Yeah. It was real fun. I guested on another podcast this last week. It comes out in May. So it's going to be a little while.
Okay.
But I said that, and there were some heads turned. Let's just say that. So some surprise. But yeah, no, I love, I think Incredibles. I think Inside Out 2 absolutely belongs on the list. Hands down.
Okay. Well, I will say this: Incredibles 2, Frozen 2, Ralph Breaks the Internet, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, and Fantasia 2000. I like all of those more than Inside Out 2. But if we were to put Inside Out 2 here instead of Zootopia 2, simply because I haven't seen Zootopia 2 yet, that does give us a 10 that I guess we could live with. I don't know if we're missing anything. Is there anything else on your list that we haven't acknowledged yet that you feel like we should?
No, I don't think so.
There's one I did want to acknowledge, and I just want to acknowledge it because we may have some listeners out there hoping we at least mention it, but it is one I haven't seen, and I don't think you've seen it either. But there's apparently a pretty popular sequel to Ghost in the Shell.
Yes, I saw that on some list doing some homework. Yeah, I have not seen that movie.
Honestly, I'm pretty I'm pretty much a novice when it comes to sequels to anime. Like sure. Ghost in the Shell or Evangelion, for instance. So,
well, speaking of that, I guess, or at least, along those same lines, Neza 2 could be an interesting one here, but I don't think you've seen that one.
Oh, I haven't seen that either. I'm so behind on everything, dude.
Yeah. See, Neza 2 is another one that does belong on this list. But it's hard when only one of us has seen the movie. So like your Batman movies, maybe they are masterpieces. Maybe they should be on here. I don't know. Yeah. I just haven't seen them.
And
it's hard to say.
Although I will say I might be willing to concede on Neza 2 simply because it's the highest grossing movie ever made, right?
Yes. And I think it's very good. Like I would take it over at least a few of these. Like Neza 2 would never trump that top 5 or 6 for me, I don't think. But I would take it over Puss in Boots. I would take it over Fantasia, over Zootopia 2, for sure. Yeah.
Okay.
So, but again, like I don't know how fair that is. Given when you compare that to something like your Batman movies, or even like a Ghost in the Shell, which neither of us have seen.
If neither of us have seen it, I don't think we can include it.
No.
But it is hard when only one of us have seen it. We just have to sort of bend down and I feel like we'd have to do one of two things. We'd either have to not include either of them, or we'd have to give you the floor, give you the opportunity to put one of them on there that I haven't seen, and then I also get the chance to do it as well. Like I feel like that's the only like if we do include Neza 2, then I feel like I would then have to include The Dark Knight Returns Part 2.
Yeah.
And I think that's the only fair way to do it.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. Like, I don't. And it gets tricky, right? Because Neza 2 for me, it'd be one thing if I was like, yeah, that's top 5. And I do really like it, but I don't know if I would put it in my top 5.
Dark Knight
even
Returns
my top 6 or 7.
Dark Knight Returns Part 2 is in my top 5.
Okay. Yeah.
So maybe, how about this? Maybe before we land on what we want to do with those two, if we feel like we want to try to squeeze them in there in some way, why don't we try to figure out how the list would look without them and see how we feel about it?
Yeah, I was just saying maybe we just have 2 lists here.
Maybe.
You know,
Those that we have seen collectively, and then
and then kind of a
the
split.
ones with the asterisk next to it.
Yeah, exactly.
Personally, of those that we got done talking about that round out the 5 through 10 in some way, Incredibles 2 would be my number 5.
Mhm.
Personally, I don't know, maybe Frozen 2 after that, Ralph Breaks the Internet after that, Puss in Boots after that, Fantasia 2000, and then Inside Out 2. Like, if I were to rank the rest of these 10 with those movies specifically, that's probably how I would rank them.
Okay. Yeah, I would probably go. I'd go Incredibles 2 as well. That's 5
Okay.
for me.
Okay.
And then I would go. Man, I do want to put Frozen 2 next, but I also think there are cleaner, sharper movies that are also as good as there. I don't know. Okay, so I'd probably go Incredibles 2, Ralph, Inside Out 2, Frozen 2, and then Puss in Boots. And then coin flip between Fantasia. I mean, I probably think I think Zootopia 2 is a better movie than Fantasia 2000.
Mhm.
If I was doing a ranking based off of what I think is the best, I would kick Fantasia 2000 off of here. But subjectively speaking, I'm not like head over heels like, oh, Zootopia 2, that's one of the best movies ever made. You need to go see it. I'm not that way about Fantasia 2000 either, but I just love that concept more, and I think it's pretty good in its own right as well. So I'm okay with that being 10 here. But that's kind of where I'm at.
The one being 10 being what, Zootopia 2 or Fantasia 2000?
Fantasia 2000, yeah.
I think we both agree that could be. I mean, I think I like it slightly more than Inside Out 2, but I know you've got the hockey related passion for that movie that might outweigh anything related to Fantasia 2000. So,
oh yeah, those two aren't even close for me.
okay.
Inside Out 2 could be Citizen Kane comparatively. Like huge gap between those two. Fantasia 2000 I do really like, but I think it's a far cry. Yeah.
It would be nice to have something that's not from like the past 10 years on this list. Most of these are pretty. I mean, I say that facetiously because Toy Story 2 is from 1999, so I get that.
Yeah, but I mean, it makes sense though, because it's not as if animated sequels were much of a thing prior to 2000.
No, they weren't.
Because
they really weren't.
The Disney stuff was straight to video. It often wasn't nearly as good. Often didn't even have the same cast, voice actors coming back for those movies. And so they just kind of fall by the wayside. Like sequel-itis was much more of a 2000s, 2010s thing. So in like Ghost in the Shell 2, when did that come out? I don't even know.
I think that was after 2000, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, probably after 2000, but that's just a blind spot for me as much as, a lot of those manga-inspired movies are.
2004. Yeah, that was Ghost in the Shell
2004.
2 Innocence was 2004.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, we're just kind of in that era. So
You're
it makes
right, yeah.
sense.
There-
I would
there was-
love to have an animated sequel from 1977 on here, but they just don't exist.
They were probably too expensive to do. At the time, it wasn't a franchisable thing.
Yeah, I mean, you had the Disney 80s movies, but again, you could argue the quality there with those. So
yeah, animated sequels didn't become the norm until after 1999 with Toy Story 2. And like to your point, even so, these Disney direct-to-video sequels were just direct-to-video cash grabs. Is all they were. They were miniaturized versions of their animated counterparts. Yeah. Some of them were. I remember liking some of them as a kid. I remember really liking Aladdin and King of Thieves. I think it was called. I think it was the third one or something like that. But it's not in the same lane as these movies that we're talking about.
What are your thoughts on Fievel? Fievel Goes West. Does that break your 10?
I don't think so.
No.
No.
Okay. It doesn't for me either.
No.
Just throwing that out there.
Honestly, of that era, the only one that comes close to breaking my 10, and this is going to sound weird, it's The Lion King 1.5.
Okay.
And it's simply because it is basically an adaptation of Tom Stoppard's Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead. And I really kind of love that about it.
Okay.
That's the only one that comes close, but even so,
Yeah.
I still feel more comfortable putting Fantasia 2000 at number 10 because of how much it sticks to a traditional form of storytelling that was not even marketable at the time. It's a very bold movie, and I respect
I don't even know if it's marketable now. I don't know if it's ever been marketable.
It never has been. No, and I appreciate that.
And again, that's why like I don't like Fantasia 2000 in terms of quality. I don't think it's quite there as its predecessor. And that's why I go back to I do think Zootopia 2 is a better movie. I think Inside Out 2 is a better movie. I think Frozen 2 with all of its crazy ass flaws is a better movie. But there's something about that concept and the ambition and the fact that they decided to do a sequel to a movie that wasn't marketable the first time around. I have to respect that. And there are some things about it that are still quite incredible. So that definitely gives it an edge. 100%.
How's this to find some type of middle ground between you and I, you and me rather, and rounding out our 6 through 10? Because I think we agree Incredibles 2 is at number 5. So how's this for number 6? Ralph Breaks the Internet. Number 7, Frozen 2. Number 8, Inside Out 2. Number 9, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. And then number 10, Fantasia 2000.
That's how I think that's a fair order. Yeah, that's
and obviously trying to find some synergy between your feelings on these films and mine.
Yeah.
I kind of like the idea of having Ralph Breaks the Internet and Frozen 2 next to each other in some way because they're kind of similarly deconstructing their predecessors. So I think they almost make for a fun pairing. So like if we decide to stick with this and not include Neza 2 and My Batman movie and overcomplicate this would be our 10 based on 10 movies that you and I have seen.
Yeah, that exactly. Of the movies that we've seen together, I think that's the 10, and I think that's the order. Yeah, that's
okay.
I think that's it.
I think we have an answer. So, I guess with that, if we were to give each other the floor to add one film that we each really like that the other hasn't seen, that I guess knocks out Fantasia 2000 and Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, which I don't want to say I'm okay with it, but I get it. I think I can live with that. And I guess if we were to do that, you put in Neza 2 over Zootopia 2, right?
Yeah. Since Zootopia 2 was already out, because that would not be the first film I would put in anyway.
Okay.
So,
okay.
Yeah. No, like, but the funny thing here about Neza 2 though, and we can fit in Batman wherever here. I Neza 2 is still probably 10 for me here. Like,
well, then
it's gonna be last on the list.
I mean, I think the fairest thing to do is if we're gonna put these two in and knock off Puss in Boots and Fantasia 2000, just put Batman at number 9 and Neza 2 at number 10.
I mean, that's fair too. Just replace it, swap them out.
Just swap them out because I mean, we really can't give them much weight because you'd have to trust my judgment on it, and then I'd also have to trust your judgment on that.
Yeah, exactly. And that's not. Yeah, I'm not trying to slight Neza 2. It's really, really good. I like it a lot. But the thing is, like, I'd almost put. I'm half tempted to even put Puss in Boots in over Neza 2. But if the idea here is we're looking outside the box a little bit, we're looking beyond just the Americanisms that are at play here.
Yeah.
Although Batman is very much an Americanism, but it's not that traditional animated movie that people go to the movies to see.
Right.
I guess that's the better way to phrase it. Like Neza 2 for me, like I still prefer out of our original list, 9 of those 10 movies, like the only movie here that I'm swiping out is Fantasia 2000.
Gotcha.
And even then, Nazat 2 is still probably 10 for me.
So
maybe I'd flip it with Puss in Boots, but it's there. It's like kind of near the bottom for me.
Well, I think maybe to not make this overly complicated, I think we have our 10.
Yeah.
And that's the 10 that we just laid out there that you and I have
that
seen.
We have seen.
Collectively.
Yes.
Yeah. Which means at number 10, Fantasia 2000. At number 9, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. Number 8, Inside Out 2. Number 7, Frozen 2. Number 6, Ralph Breaks the Internet. Number 5, Incredibles 2. Number 4, Toy Story 2. Number 3, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Number 2, How to Train Your Dragon 2. And top of the list, Toy Story 3.
Yeah, I really like that 10, actually.
I do
really
too.
like that a lot. Yeah,
you were right that the back half is where it got more interesting.
That's where it got way more fascinating for sure.
Yeah. And I promise I will try to watch Zootopia 2 and Nazat 2 sometime soon. If you watch the Batman,
Dark Knight can watch those
movies,
for sure.
It's a two-parter. It really does feel like it's just one movie that they broke up into 2 parts, but there is a talk show scene in Dark Knight Returns Part 2 that I think puts the Joker scene to shame.
Interesting. Okay.
I'll simply say that. It scared the living crap out of me.
All right. I'd be curious to give those a go. I'll check those out. That'll be the fun of coming back to this at some point once we catch up with those movies, when I can see the Batman movies and you can see Nazat, and maybe we can both see Ghost in the Shell too. Like, this will be a fun 10. Yeah. We need to make sure we save this somewhere so we can come back to it.
I have it in my Word doc. I'm going to save it now so I have access to it.
Because this will be, once we catch up with more, and also we know we're going to get Across the Spider-Verse, or the sequel to Across Beyond. Is that what it's still called?
Thus far, yeah.
Yeah. So we know we're going to get that at least. Toy Story 5, who knows? Maybe it'll surprise us.
I hope so.
Find out.
I don't have faith, but I hope so.
So, yeah, I mean, we could always come back and update this as it goes. But as it stands currently, I do like that 10. I think we did a good job there.
All right. Good work.
All right. Well, if you agree or disagree, and look, Brendan and I disagreed quite a bit on this. So I assume that many of you listening also disagree.
I know we're going to have a lot of people listening who are really pissed we didn't include The Lion King too, because I know that has a lot of fans.
Or anything from Shrek, or anything from Kung Fu Panda, or like...
They're fun. They're fine.
Yeah. No Madagascar here. Sorry, everyone.
Oh, I forgot about Madagascar. Forgot those were a thing.
Yeah. We left out a lot of sequels. We didn't even touch on a lot of them. So that's fine. But I really like personally, I think we got the right 10.
We definitely got the ones that speak to us. These are more these are more me, you kind of movies.
Exactly. I love championing these movies. However, the order is these 10, I will absolutely champion 100%. At any rate, if you agree or disagree, leave a comment below. Let us know. Or if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, hit us up on social media. You can always email us insessionfilm@gmail.com. All right, few quick notes before we get out of here. One, we have a new-ish VIP episode in case you're a VIP member and you missed it, or if you want to become a VIP listener. That is patreon.com/insessionfilm. You can also subscribe via Apple Podcast subscriptions, or become a member of the YouTube channel. You'll get access to our VIP content in all 3 of those avenues there. We had an episode go out, I guess that was like a week and a half now as we are recording this. But
yeah,
our latest episode, Brendan and I, we delve into more pirates. Specifically, we talk about At World's End. We give that one a little bit of a retro conversation. It was a lot of fun. So if you want to go and check that out, become a member, become a VIP, and you can get access to that. And we'll have something else coming up very soon as well. I really do want to have more Project Hail Mary conversations. Yeah. So once Brendan is able to see it, we'll churn out some more. And that was actually a comment we had on YouTube, I believe it was.
I think I saw that. Yeah. Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah. Reviews last week. Speaking of Project Hail Mary, Brendan and I also talked about the new Petzold, the new Christian Petzold, Mirrors number 3, if you want to go and check that out.
Fascinating.
As far
movie.
as reviews this week, we have a couple of time travel movies. We did not really plan this. It's just really funny how it
worked out
turned
nicely.
out. But we are going to be reviewing Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie. That's out digitally now, so we're going to give that one a go. And then also out on Hulu this last weekend, Mike and Nick and Alice, a handful to say there. But we're going to dive into that movie as well. So those will be our 2 reviews. New Chasing the Gold this week, new Women in Session as well. So make sure that you stay tuned for all of that. Be sure to subscribe to the show. However you listen, make sure you subscribe. If you're on YouTube, make sure you like the video, all that fun stuff as well. Brendan, am I forgetting anything?
No, I think that covers it. I think next weekend we've got. I know we've got a few scheduling kinks that we have to work out for next weekend, but I know we've definitely got a Mario movie on the way. But apparently, I guess we have a new Robert Pattinson Zendaya movie as well.
Yeah,
right?
drama's coming out soon as well.
Yeah. And I just now realized that the drama is from the same director as Dream Scenario.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
So we'll see about that one. I am curious about the Zendaya Pattinson. They've been everywhere promoting this. It's been really fun to see.
I hope they talk about Dune in this movie.
Who knows? Maybe they will.
Maybe.
Yeah, because I did see an interview with Zendaya because she was asked about it, and she was like, "It's just kind of a happy accident because they have 3 movies together coming out this year." Just this year.
Yeah, you have, we just mentioned Dune, obviously the drama, but then there's also The Odyssey, right?
The Odyssey, yeah. Real funny how that turned out.
Go figure.
Go figure. So yeah, that'll be really fun. I am curious. There's also that new Julia Ducournau movie, Alpha, I believe it's titled.
That
heard got a
weird
limited
things
release.
about that.
Yeah, so hearing mixed things, but curious. Yeah, there's some fun movies coming out soon that we'll be able to talk about. All right. With all of that said, thanks for listening, everybody. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time on the In Session Film Podcast.